It's Nikachu, Merfolk Master. We are here for rounds 4 to 8 of my Modern Challenge. I'm 3-1 so far. This is great. So far, the deck is a deck, and things are breaking our way so far this event. So let's get into round 5. And in round 5, we have lost the die roll. His hand sort of sucks. Sounds very poor. I mean, if I want to go like Dockhand to Master the Pearl Trident, then I have to use my blue sources, and then I'm not even attacking with Mutavault by turn 3. Also, I need like another island. This is not a blue card heavy hand, so Force Negation sort of needs to be cast. And I don't even have an island, and I don't even want another island. I think I'm going to pitch this one back. I can't tell what my opponent's on. There's like a variety of different deck lists that are showing up. Although one seems to be consistently hardened scales, but like they can be on anything. First Negation is not particularly good versus hardened scales. This hand is just not good versus hardened scales. But I think the only deck this might be good against maybe is Cascade, maybe, but not even then. Like I'd have to sack something, so I'm just gonna mulligan this. This hand's a lot better. I'm gonna keep this, and I think I'll pitch. I just pitch a Force and hope my opponent's not on Cascade. Because I can go turn 1 Dockhand, turn 2 Shaper, and then maybe turn 3 Regery. Yeah, I think this is a satisfactory hand. Okay, what's up, opponent? What's up? Oh, that is just awful. That's just miserable. Another Yawgmoth matchup. Another Yawgmoth. You got the turn 2 Grist this time. Actually, like turn 1 Halfling, it's insane. Turn 1 Mana Dork, so powerful, so OP. Mana Dorks are coming back now that they have 2 toughness. Nothing turn 2. What the hell? So you're just trying to ramp out like a turn. What's it called? Or do you have like Grist, but you don't want to play it? I don't have any reason to play Tide Shaper. I'd really like to hit a black source. Also, it's possible that if I play Tide Shaper on some random land, they're just going to kill it with a Grist following. And I don't mind playing Lord, playing Reger, and then playing Tide Shaper, and then killing Grist, I think. Well, I mean, alternatively, I could play the Tide Shaper, and then even if they do play... What do they have? Oh, no, they have Bowmasters. Okay, so I can't play Tide Shaper. Because if I play Tide Shaper, they'll just kill it. There's only one choice, then. There's the Lord of Atlantis. I'm just trying to think. Like, there's no way in hell that they can just pass their turn like this. So if I attack... I'm actually fine exchanging a Dockhand for Bowmasters or even this thing. Because they do have to block with Bowmasters and the token to kill it. It's got 3 toughness. So I'm fine with that exchange. I expect there's going to be a fetch for a Shock of Underground. Oh, actually, hold on. Wait a second. This is a Flooded Strand. I didn't notice that. This is not Yawgmoth. I should have been more observant. So this has to be like Omnath? I guess it's Omnath. Would that have changed how I played this hand? It absolutely would have. I should have played Tide Shaper, hit this thing, attack for 2, and then keep this thing in my hand. Oh well. Okay, we lost our Lord of Atlantis. But we'll never lose our freedom! Okay, we got another Lord of Atlantis. That actually works out. Next turn... so we don't have... There's no island here. Anyway, I'll play the Regery. The next turn we can play like Tide Shaper and our Lord. Looks like they're setting up some sort of like turn where they go Yawgmoth and play a land on the same turn. Probably, maybe. You want to kill my Reader or not? Yeah, I should have been more observant of the Flooded Strand. Flooded Strand does not mean Yawgmoth. They would never play that card in a million years. Even if they were desperate. Actually, I can't search out anything in their deck. Okay, so they're killing my Regery, which is sad. I'm not happy about that. What are they missing? They have blue, white, green, reds. They have all Omnath mana possible. But no Omnath. So there's just all remove. They're just removal for days. I'm thinking I just play attack with Mutavault in my dock hand. And we just play a Tide Shaper post board. Oh, wait a minute. They are setting up Solitude? They've got Solitude set up, do they? So they have to crack this for some sort of shock land if I go after the Sacred Foundry, which I think is fine. Okay, so I will go for that. Let's see if this changes anything. I could just attack with the Mutavault. If they exile it with Solitude, then like so be it. So this attack, if I attack with the Island Walker, it's not guaranteed Island Walk at all. So we'll attack with a Mutavault. I don't think they have any good blocks. I don't know how much I can trust this deck list that I'm looking at, but I mean, there's like Tishana's Tidebinder, Delightful Halfling, a whole bunch of other stuff. So if like this is Solitude, I mean, that's fine. I don't think they're playing with Ephemerate anymore these days. They are not. I'm assuming they're going to exile this. Oh, they're going to go after... Okay, they're going to go after my Tide Shaper. Maybe block? Okay, they're going to block. Which is fine. I mean, like, they're eating up all my resources. And the reason I'm holding onto this is I just want to pull it as far away out of danger as possible. Okay, they get Ren. And I guess they're just going to get a bunch of land drops. If that's what they need. And they're going to decline, trying to put blue man in play. Okay, I have nothing to do, so I'll play my lord. My philosophy is if there's a like Ren and 6, then if you can kill it in one shot, kill it. If you can't, don't. So I'm just going to go after my opponent's face. There's really no guarantee that I can actually kill them. Kill that stupid Ren in 6 within the next who knows how many turns. I'm curious. They're going to fetch to thin their deck. Fetch to thin. This deck could have a million different cards. There's Leyline Binding, the One Ring, Fairies, Ren and 6s. They got it all. They might even go to minus Ren, play another Ren, kill my Master of the Pearl Trident. That's not out of the question. I love how they're trying so hard not to put an island in play. Oh, we got an Omnath. Omnatharuni. Okay. So they'll gain about 8 life and draw a card because they can fetch. So they'll gain 7 life because they'll fetch on my turn, get another 3. Probably we're lost. Probably. Like, at this point of the game, you hope to kill Omnath at this point. Or Omnath is dead. Or so, like, at this point of the game, you hope that the opponent is at a really low life total, which in this case they were not even close by a long shot. They had more than enough removal to deal with us. Oh, now they get the Hollowed Fountain. Now they go for it. Playing with a little confidence now. They weren't playing so confidently when they had this Ren and 6 in play. Maybe some good news is now that I have no incentive to attack the opponent, I'll attack the stupid Ren and 6 instead. Well, it looks like they're just going to Prismatic Ending my Lord, and I was just toast anyway. This card is not useful. Again, I'm just going to attack the opponent. Oh, it actually doesn't matter. I should have attacked the Ren 6. It was pointless. That's okay. Okay, upkeep. I will tag the Omnath then, so that they don't get a land drop for the turn. I mean, they can still, like, uptick Ren 6, get fetch, put fetch on the battlefield, so there's that. But at least they're gonna gain 3 life instead of 7. Omnath number 2. Now between Omnath and the Wondering, they're getting tons of great stuff. One thing that will help a lot in this matchup really depends on like how many like early turn plays they have for our creatures. Because the way the game goes is they just try to survive into the late game. So you want to kill them or hit their life total as heavy and as hard as possible, as quickly as possible. Which we are not even close to doing in this game. And we had no interaction for any of this. No Hexcatcher, no Tishana's Tidebinder. No Force Negate. Well, we passed a Force Negation in our opening hand, but it would not have been very useful here. I mean, you know what? That's fine. Ugh. Okay. I don't know what equity I'm giving up here, but I just don't want to play with the rest of this game. My opponent's going to be gaining 7 life a turn. That's a lot of life. Hard to deal with. And they're attacking me back for a lot. Okay, I'm going to bring in a few Dismembers between Delighted Halfling, Omnath. Maybe I'll bring in even more. Definitely do not want Spreading Seas. I don't mind the 1-drops. Trickster sort of sucks. Trickster's not that strong in this matchup. Hexcatcher is very good. Subtlety is okay. Force Negation is good to hit, specifically Teferi and the One Ring. But we only have so many slots here. Maybe I'm going to take out all the Tricksters. I don't want to take out that many Tricksters. Do I want Subtlety? Like, it's not bad, but it's not great either. I'm going to keep it. Just as like a random flash creature. I want to maximize my Lords. I'm pretty happy to have Reedry in this deck over, say, Sveilun. Sveilun is not that good in this matchup. Like, they can just get rid of it. Like, you know, Prismatic Ending, Leyline Binding, Teferi Bounce. So they've got the tools. So what's really important is to be able to deal a lot of damage really quickly. I guess that's how it's going to be. I'm wondering if 3 Dismember is too many. 2 is probably the perfect number. What is my sideboard for Omnath? I don't even know. I have a sideboard guide. Why don't I use my own sideboard guide? I take out all the Tide Shapers. Why do I do that? Bring in all the Dismembers and 2 Subtlety. No, I'm going to leave it at 3. Subtlety is okay. Subtlety is definitely okay. Maybe Subtlety is better on the draw. Maybe I should have a play draw dependent guide for this match. Maybe I mean, I don't know how many Tishana's Tide. I don't know how much Tishana's Tidebinder is like a standard card now in this deck. When Tishana's Tidebinder first got printed, every deck playing blue was playing Tishana's Tidebinder, including Murktide. But then after a while, the decks sort of figured out which ones wanted to play Tishana's Tidebinder and which ones didn't. And so in the end, Crashing Footfalls ended up keeping Tishana's Tidebinder, but Murktide decks did not. Also, Death Shadow decks ended up, I believe, removing her. She's not for every deck, but she definitely looks like a pretty good resource for Omnath, especially since between Halfling, Tidebinder can be played on turn 2. Okay, we won the die roll. Hand is bad. It's just a little threat light. Like, bad is a little strong, but it's not good. I mean, I would prefer at least one of these lands was another removal spell. I'm going to keep because I'm on the play and I don't want to mulligan down to a somewhat unplayable hand. But, you know, I wish it was a little bit better. There's a world where I play, like, Dockhand turn 1, then my opponent plays, like, Triome turn 1, then we hit it with Tideshaper, and maybe that messes them up. But if they go, like, turn 1 Halfling, it would really suck. My matchups in these challenges are just rough. It's just nothing but Murktide. Sorry, not Murk. I don't mind playing against Murktide, but Yawgmoth and Omnath, not a fan. You know, where's Tron? Where's Tron? Where's Crashing Footfalls? Where's Burn? What other decks are there in this metagame? There's a lot of actually dubious stuff. I'm not really thrilled to play against Scamp. Like, where's Living End, Tron, Boro? I'd be fine versus Hammer Time. There's a lot of matchups I'd be very thrilled to play against. Omnath and Murktide, not one of them. Do you know what? This is a mistake. If I draw Force Negation, I may not have wanted to play that. Okay, I'm going to start off by putting my puny, crappy creatures out, though. These are creatures very easy to attack for the win. So, like, if they play turn 2 Teferi, they can bounce one, but the other one will kill the Teferi with certainty. Also, I can start attacking with these creatures, and then when they set up a 1 ring on turn 4, we can flash in Hexcatcher and counter it. One nice thing about these decks is that they don't play with Ephemerate anymore. So I don't have to play around like Solitude into blinking the stupid Solitude. That's just a win. Apparently a win more strategy. They prefer to play with the 1 ring, and yeah, I guess the 1 ring is the particular card that's different. 1 ring, Delighted Halfling. The Ephemerate tech is dead. Nissa. Oh, that's maybe why I want the 4 Dismembers. But not everyone plays the Nissa thing. So it's got landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you can add 1 mana of any color. Then if it's the second time, this ability is resolved this turn. Reveal cards on the top of your library until you hit an elf or elemental card. And so they just go find, they basically go find Solitude. Or like Omnath. It only costs 1 green. I guess attack and trade this Tideshaper with this stupid Nissa. I think I would be fine with that. Maybe. This is my turn 3. I can also attack with Tideshaper. If it gets blocked, I can also tap this thing down with Dockhand to save myself from maybe the more harsher things on turn whatever. Turn 4. Alternatively, I play Mass of the Pearl Trident and we just go face. But the problem is they can find pretty reliably. Land enters the battlefield under your control, add 1 mana of any color. Then if this is the second time this ability is resolved this turn, reveal card. So a fetch land finds Solitude. Or Omnath. Or I guess another Nissa. This is very strong. Could have drawn a Dismember there. That would have been perfect. I think I'm just going to attack for max damage. Do I want to protect? No, there's no reason to hold this back. Just going to play this. Let's get in the most damage we can get in and pass. So we're going to hope, this is a halfling, not a elf. So we're going to hope that they find Omnath. Off of this fetch land. That's the hope. That's the dream. When I'm upset about cards like this should just be like green, green, green. I don't know why it's like green too generic. Why is it so splashable? When it's a green card, it's like 1 green, 2 generic. When it's a blue card, it must be double blue. And for almost no abilities. When it has like millions of abilities, oh, generic mana can cast all of this stuff. No problem. And they did find a Solitude. Instead of Omnath. Because if they find Omnath and they have no other removal, then we could go like Mass of the Pearl-Tread and potentially kill them. They're going to go to Fairy first, which is okay. I don't know what they're planning with this, but probably their hand is loaded with stuff. They just want to empty their hand. Yeah, there's no point countering this. I can't. Another halfling. So they need a white card in hand to play their Solitude. I guess I have no choice. And I've only been drawing lands from here, which sucks. And also, fortunately for my opponent, they never had to have put a blue source in play. I don't know how easy that is for them to dodge. Maybe it's reasonably easy for them to dodge. They have like 3 blue lands in their deck from what I see. Okay, we're going to cast our Tide Shaper. And I'm assuming it's going to get eaten up by the Solitude. I should have believed in my sideboard plan. But Nissa is not standard in all of these decks. Some decks play. There's a lot of variation in the Omnath decks. Some play Nissa. Some play Supreme Verdict. Some people don't play Supreme Verdict. So there's like a lot of room for like different types of Omnath decks. What does red do? Does red do anything in this deck? Casts Wrenn and 6. Although actually you can cast Wrenn and 6 with this anyway. There's also something to be said. Does Teferi even matter anymore? Like, if I successfully kill Teferi, does that matter? Maybe. So what I'm predicting... I don't know if I'm predicting, but it looks like they can, like... They'll Solitude this, block this, and I'm dead. But if they Solitude this... Like, even if I wait with my Master of the Pearl Trident, I'm sort of screwed. So if I attack my opponent for 1... Well, no matter what, Solitude's coming out next turn, so let's just get rid of some resources off the battlefield. If they Solitude this, this is a 2 for 2. Not happy about that result, but like I'm sort of screwed here. My opponent had a very good hand. My hands were not very good for this. This is a pretty poor matchup as it is. And we'll play Play my lord. And pass. We had a bit of a beatdown. We had a little bit of beatdown early on in this game, but it's pretty useless at this point. So now, like, any fetch land is just going to keep finding them solitudes. It's like a solitude finder. This wasn't even a Modern Horizons card. Another Teferi. Teferi number 2. Ren and 6, everything's on the board. I've F6'd, so they don't have to worry about me playing anything. Like Force Negation or something like that. It really doesn't matter. They can play as carefully as they want. I'm just dead to this card. Did they play a fetch? Did they get something? They got an Omnath? Oh, that's very nice of you, opponent. That's really good. Still no island in play. Well, I've got a Dark Hand. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna concede. they can get a fetch every single turn. I can't compete with that. They'll just play Omnath to gain a boatload of life, and I'm just stone cold dead. So anyway, this was poor matchup, poor hands for the matchup. Also, they again good hands from our opponent who like start off with Delightful Halfling into all their removal. We didn't draw anything to interact with their game plan at all. And yeah, that's about it. Round 6. We are on the play. Won the die roll. I don't remember the last time that's happened. To be honest, I feel like I have pretty good die roll luck. I think it's fair that I lose some die rolls once in a while. Anyway, this hand is... It's a vile hand with a bunch of creatures, so I'm just going to keep it, and then we see what happens. We take it from here. Steam Vents. Pass. I think a lot of those decks are going to be Murktide. Some of them are going to be... some of them are going to be Footfalls, because they might go an island cycler here. But they'll reveal themselves here. Okay, so they had Bolt. Looks like they had Bolt. They were going to bolt this thing. They bolt no more. Flitstring goes into the graveyard. Shredder. Does put me in an awkward spot. I don't really want to throw this Trickster out there. Preordain, alright. Do they have... There's a few cards that they could have here in addition to Bolt. They could have Spell Snare. That would really suck. I don't mind throwing my Trickster... I don't mind throwing my Trickster away into a Bolt, although that is not something optimally I would want to do. Also, versus the Murktide matchup, you want to keep your Trickster for Dragon Rage Channeler. The Preordain went one top, one bottom. I guess I'm just going to... I don't have to do anything. There's nothing going on in this game. We can just pass the turn a little bit. Which actually also favors us, because if they do tap out on their red mana, then we could just spew our hand out, like, File, Regery, and a bunch of other stuff. You know what? Let's play a little patiently. You want to do anything? I won't do anything either! I can afford it. Got a Dock Hand. That cannot get hit by Spell Snare. Pretty awkward, doesn't... I can't even play it here. Okay, so... This I will play. Unless you have Stern Scolding. I don't think that's the case either. They had Stern Skull. Okay, we got main deck Stern Scolding going on around here. Well, at least we baited it out, I guess. I don't really want to play this Otawara, but it would make my hand a little bit more mana efficient if I really need to spew my hand. I guess they were like... I mean, I had nothing to do with this dock hand anyway. I already took the Vial up, which sucked. Could use that, like, a little bit earlier. Could use that card. And also... I mean, it's possible we would draw running lands into making use of this Otawara, but that's not guaranteed at all. Okay. This is how it's going to be played. That's awkward if they're going to take this route. So what I can do is... There's a few things we can do. Like, I could Trickster, and if we can bait their red drop... This also might not be Murktide. I mean, it might be like a control Murktide deck if they haven't played like Dragon Rage Chandler or Ragavan at this point. Like, I don't know if Stern Scolding is standard in the Murktide deck, but they've got a lot of one-of, so it's possible. I really just don't want to throw my Lords away and then they just slam a Murktide and I'm lost. There's other ways I can play. Like, I'd play patiently, take the Vial up to 3, then we can like Vial in... I would love to get to a point where all our creatures are 3 toughness, but even that doesn't matter. 4 toughness, but even that doesn't matter because they could still have Unholy Heat. They've got an int. They got 3/4 of Delirium online here. Oh, they want to Tidebinder me. Okay. That's fine. I'm not thrilled about that, but okay. So this is a little less likely to be Murktide. A little less. Oh, it turns it back on, but it's still gonna counter it for the turn. If I knew that, I would keep this because then I would take my turn, tick it up to 3, I think, or maybe it wouldn't change much. Oh wow, it was... Oh no, wait a minute. It didn't even activate. Don't forget it. Everything I said. I actually don't know the fine nuances of how Tishana's Tidebinder interacts in my deck yet. We'll play a Regery attack for 3, and then hopefully they only have... one benefit is they only have 1 source of red mana. So if they kill this thing, they kill it, and then if we draw a land, we can hopefully play all these cards. But now that Aether Vial's offline... Okay, forget all that stuff. They have enough red mana to do whatever the hell they want. We do have a lot of Island Walkers, though. Now our hand turned really bad really fast. So we have Lord of Atlantis, which will turn on our opponent's Tishana's Tidebinder. Wow, their hand actually... Well, their hand wasn't bad. Their hand was quite good. So it still could be Murktide. I just have no damn clue. But they have a lot of Murktide cards, so it's like a Murktide deck with Tishana's Tidebinder, which up to this point they've dumped. Like, the most modern Murktide decks, they just don't play Tidebinder. It just didn't work out for them. But, I mean, if someone wants to play it, they can play it. It might be a little too clunky for them. Oh, there's the Dragon Rage Chandler. And we are basically lost from here. Very unfavored. We might have had a chance if we drew an island on this last turn, so we could play like 2 lords in one turn, then we can follow it up with like 2 more lords and hopefully win the race. But playing 1 creature, like it just comes down to these Murktide matchups. If we're playing 1 creature a turn, they're playing 2, we're lost. Sorry, if we're playing 1 spell a turn while they're playing 2, we're lost. Yeah, and now they've got the Murktide. I think they had the Murktide the entire time. I don't know if they might have had Tishana's Tidebinder as well. They just had a hand without Dragon Rage Chandler, and they were just waiting to pick off our creatures one by one, which is why I didn't want to deploy them, because it would just help. A, we would lose all our creatures, but second, we would help ramp them into their Murktide, and I wouldn't say I had no answer to Murktide, but this is not a reliable answer to Murktide. And I can still do absolutely nothing. Am I just gonna die? This is like 8 damage in the air. Sorry, this is 7 damage in the air. This is still on the ground. Okay, so we are going to bring in boatloads of stuff. Take out the seas, take out the force negation, bring in chalice, bring in some subtleties, definitely bring in all the dismembers. We have a decision between Dockhand and Tideshaper. I'll take out the Dockhand still. Keep one subtlety out of here. Still card disadvantage. And keep the rest. Tishana's Divebinder could counter another Tishana's Tidebinder. Who knows? A funny interaction might happen where our opponent has like 4 mana up. They try to cast Dragon Rage Chandler into a Chalice of the Void, but then they play Tishana's Tidebinder to counter the Chalice trigger. That's possible. Force Dragon Rage Chandler in play. So versus Murktide, I would rather win the first game. We're pretty favored in game 1 because of our Ether Vials and our Chalice of the Cavernous Souls. And it might have worked well there, but they shut our Ether Vial off with Tishana's Tidebinder. And they had a bunch of counter spells. I can't keep 7-card hands! I mean, you know you got a mulligan like some percent of the time, but like whenever I'm up against an attrition-based deck, I want to keep my 7-card hands. This hand's terrible. This hand's really bad. I can dump subtlety. It's not really bad, but I am not fist pumping this hand. It's not like, yay, this is exactly what I needed versus the Murktide deck, who's on the draw. Well, we're going to do what we can. And we've got the worst Lord out of all the Lords, because we're confirmed our opponent's playing Tishana's Tidebinder, so this will just buff up their Tishana's Tidebinder because it's a Merfolk. Okay, well, they don't have any 1-drop on turn 1, so that helps us tremendously. So I can just pretty freely play Island Attack with Mutavault next turn. Or do I want to go Mutavault, attack with Mutavault, so that I can activate 1 Mutavault. If they try to kill it, I activate... No, that doesn't matter. They can kill it in combat. Hexcatcher... Probably not worth playing right now. Or yet, I should say. Let's just get in for 2 damage. Trying to cast my creatures for mana is a bit of a risk. Maybe the risk is a little low, given that it'll be their turn 2, so they'll tap out on Ledger Shredder or something. There it is. Got rid of a Ragavan. So we have land, sorcery. We do have Delirium, if that matters. I drew Reejery. There's a world where we tick up the Vial to 3, Vial and Reejery, and then I go really ham. Or I guess I can't go that ham, and I can't... It's not worth risking taking the Vial up so high. Because if I do, I can't get my blue-blue cards into play anymore. So I guess we're just going to hard cast Reejery through some counter magic. They could Subtlety, but I guess that's okay. And then maybe upkeep Vile and Trickster. Tap this thing down. Because if I wait, then they can Tidebinder. And that's certainly not good. And right now, Dragon Rage Chandler is not the biggest threat. Biggest threat is a Ledger Shredder. How much red mana do you have? Preordain. Sure. I can do nothing about it anyway. Sure. So this might turn out okay because we do have a Hex Catcher. I mean, if we draw land, that'd be perfect. Then we can Hex Catcher in a creature, or sorry, Hex Catcher in, and then try to at least deflect an Unholy Heat from removal spell on our Lord of Atlantis. Lord of Atlantis is going to be our most valuable card right now. Land would be great here because then we can Vile in Hex Catcher, attack with 2 Mutavaults, put him to 6, and that will be very close to lethal. Got a Chalice on 1. That is a little late, in my opinion. But you know what? Better late than never. I guess I'll take it. So our opponent, if they leave just 3 mana up, we'll just pass the turn a few times. That is awkward, but there is not much I can do about that, sure. So if they crack it, what would happen? Okay, sure. Just eats up our Chalice. Okay, they attack for nothing. We'll Vile in our Hex Catcher, which we can protect. Then we'll Vile in Lord of Atlantis. We can try to Dismember. That's not bad. It's not great either. I'm just thinking, like, if I Dismember this and they kill a Hex Catcher, what would I rather have on the board? Or like, would I rather like sack a Mutavault against a removal spell or Dismember this thing? You have 3 cards left. They haven't been playing many lands, so they have a lot of removal still. And playing extra cards with this Ledger Shredder really sucks for me. But I can attack for a clean 6. They go to 6. They could also have Spell Pierce here. That would be a huge beating. So we'll play around a few of those cards by just attacking. Vile in Lord. I mean, they could have a hand of counterspells at this point. Maybe they have a hand of counterspells. Okay, so if that all happened, let's just try to dismember this Ledger Shredder. I mean, I have nothing else to use on. Okay, that all went perfectly. That all went swimmingly. Okay, their hand might be like Counterspell, Stern Scolding. Because if they're not playing lands, their hand could be Counterspell, Stern Scolding, could be Subtlety. Maybe one Murktide that they had no good opportunity to tap out for. Preordain is fine. Brotherhood End is pointless now. They would just die if they play it. Because I can sack the Hex Catcher. Okay. I guess there's still a world we lose. Do I tick this thing up to 3? I guess not. I can play all my 3-drops. It would just suck to draw a 3-drop. If I draw a 2-drop, that's double blue, like that one. I would very much appreciate. So I'm going to activate the Mutavault using this blue mana, and if something happens to this Mutavault... Actually, we just win. Doesn't matter what I do. Because this Mutavault can protect me versus anything. Yeah. I think their hand was just a bunch of counter spells or subtleties or something like that. They just had no opportunity to play them. Run it back, I guess. We're going to run it back. One thing I'm not really thrilled about is that how these games are like really close. Like the games are a lot closer than I want them to be. Like I'd rather steamroll Murktide than to play it out like this. Sounds fine. We got a Vial. We have interaction. Interaction Jackson. What's going on here? It's a little buggy. Is that my keyboard? Or is that... I'm going to punch my keyboard. That fix it? Nope, not really. What is going on here? Can't show you the cards. I'm going to keep. Turn 1 Dragon Rage Channeler. We do have a Trickster for it eventually. Ooh, we have Chalice of the Void. So if there's no answer to this Chalice... Still, a Dragon Rage Channeler is still pretty dangerous. Not thrilled about seeing that on turn 1. We are fortunate in at least game 1 and game 2 there were no like 1-drops, so we were under no pressure immediately. Attacking for 1. Shredder, okay. See if we can deal with these cards after the fact. This is the best time to draw that Tide Shaper because it's useless afterwards. Because we have our Chalice on 1. So we could, like, there's a lot of ways of killing this thing. Trickster, could rip a bunch of lands. Bounce with Otawara. This card might be a problem because they just might throw a bunch of cards into the abyss. I'm just going to block. I think it's impossible for them to get Delirium because I'd have to play 2 instants, and then like even if they got 2 other card types, that would only be 3. Okay, that is not a sign of Tishana's Tidebinder. Good draw, good draw. Okay, attack for 2. I'll probably just Trickster this Shredder at upkeep. I don't even know if that's worth it. Maybe I just don't do anything. Maybe if they play one spell... Actually, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do against this card. If they do nothing, I'll like Trickster at end of turn. See if they play a Tishana's Tidebinder in response to my Vial. They do not. Do I want to play anything else into counter magic? Not really. Also, they might be setting up a Brother's Hood end, so I don't want to overplay into that either. Mutavault's a great draw. We develop our board without getting blown up by Brother's Hood end or by counter magic. So like if the turn follows the same way again, I will Trickster the Shredder at end of turn, and we'll get in for a pretty huge chunk of damage. I do not feel like Tidebindering that, especially since they could still have counter magic up. They're going to play a Murktide for 3. That might be the best thing that they can do. Put a 3/3 Murktide in play. Well, the fact that they're thinking so long just means, like, we're probably winning. That's how I'm interpreting this. And if they tap out, probably we're just gonna play everything. We'll play Trickster, we'll play a Tishana's Tidebinder for no value, then we'll play Hexcatcher, and then even if they go Brother's Hood end, I could probably sack my board and still have lethal in play. Because this is gonna be very close to lethal anyway, if they tap out. Be very, very close. Okay. They're throwing that away. Oh, and they're going to Tishana's Tidebind. This is funny. Okay, so that triggers. Do I want that to trigger? I guess that's going to trigger. It connives. Yeah, okay, so that will resolve. And we are going to Tishana's Tidebinder that trigger. If they have Stern Scolding, we can, like, file in Hexcatcher and counter it. No, they don't. Oh, no, Stern Scolding's off the table because of Chalice. That doesn't even matter. So now I'm thinking, what do I want to tap down? It might be the Tidebinder. Then I attack with everything. This can't kill anything if I file in Hexcatcher. And if somehow Brother's Hood end resolves, it will at least kill the... I mean, if I draw a Lord, that would be really, really good. Okay, we'll tap this thing down. I drew a Dismember, which is extra good. So this thing goes bye-bye. Do I just win here? I think I just win here. Alright, we positioned ourselves for a nice win. Chalice on 1 saves the day. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad for honest days of work. And without, I would like to mention, without Sveloon. I don't have Sveloon here. Do you see my Sveloon? I have no Sveloon. I didn't need Sveloon. Just need the it's all about interaction. I mean, not to bet. Sveloon is fine for this matchup. It is good. I'm not going to complain. Our opponent is drawing like a million cards. They're like, where's my stuff? They're still drawing. Keep drawing. Keep drawing. Keep digging. Keep digging. Anyway. It was all their game was probably completely countered by Chalice of the Void on one. It's round 7. We're up against Merfolk because we're up against Draconar. We're on the play, which is great. Hand unfortunately has only 1 land and a bunch of spreading seizes, which is useless to me. Okay, so anyway, I got a mulligan. If one of these seas were like an island, this hand would probably be premium because I could we curve out perfectly, dock hand, master, then perhaps turn 3 dockhand into lord, and hopefully that would be great. Whoops, don't keep mulligan. Too dangerous. This hand is very awkward. But I think I have to keep it and then maybe go like turn 1 dockhand and then like maybe choke mana for at least 1 turn. I'm really not happy about this though. So we're going to keep. We'll put the force on the bottom. Done. We have to probably take up our vial to 3, which might be okay. But on the play, like these tie binders are not going to come into play until turn 4, which is not what I want in this matchup. Anyway, this matchup plays out really stupid in a lot of ways anyway. Actually, we'll turn 2, we can go like turn 1 Tide Shaper and vial in. Actually, I can go just play Dockhand, vial in Tide Shaper. Or if we draw land, I'll Tide Shaper this stupid thing. So it goes, opponent goes turn 1 nothing. Sort of implies to me that this might be Dismembery. Is it a Dismembery? What's the value of keeping this thing? These days the Merfolk deck only has about like 10 islands, 9 islands. Probably Draconar plays 8. Get the sense that Draconar is one of those, I could probably look up his list, maybe on the side. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. I have some idea what his list is like. Okay, what's the difference between casting Tide Shaper and casting Dockhand here? Dockhand will always be a 1-2. But I might want that 1-2. The deal is, like, there's a high percentage chance that something's getting dismembered here. It's possible it's not, but I don't know. Like, maybe Draconar just wanted to keep 1 lander on the draw with nothing, but that sounds a little too far-fetched to me. This card will not be that valuable, so I guess I'll send it out to its death. And if there's a Dismember on the Tide Shaper, then so be it. Dismember on nothing. All right, that's good. So we will play Dockhand and probably screw with our opponent's mana for the next few turns. Wait, Mass of the Pearl Trident. I'm okay with that. We'll take up... And we can get it out of, hopefully, Tishana's Tidebinder range by tapping down the stuff. Do I want to exchange a Tide Shaper for a Master of the Pearl Trident? Actually, I think I can pretty confidently attack here, right? Because there's just so likely that we have a Lord, and if Draconar blocks, then, like... Anyway, worst case scenario, we're just trading. But best case scenario, they'd get screwed. So, okay, so that will happen. And then, I guess upkeep. Upkeep, I'm going to hit the island. Because that can cast Merfolk Pilgrimage. I'm not trying to make things uncounterable here. Not yet, anyhow. What else does it hit? I think maybe just Pilgrimage is the only card. Maybe the Hardcast Force Negation, but that's completely irrelevant in this matchup. I just want to cut down on Tishana's Tidebinder for 1 turn. They play Pilgrimage anyway. So with that on the stack, we will Violent Trickster, which means they don't get a tap trigger over the Pilgrimage. Because if Pilgrimage resolves and we tap their creature, Pilgrimage still, like, triggers anyway. So that's not good. It's not where we want to be. So we're going to take the Violet to 3. And I'll probably still tap lands down with Dockhand. Sure. Because it's not worth that much damage. And I don't want to put my opponent in a situation where they can play 2/2 drops in one turn. I forgot I have this Tidebinder in here. Yeah, maybe it was better to play the Tidebinders instead. Whatever. It's okay. It's okay. Just hope they're not going to play a land into another Tidebinder, into Tidebinder. This could be Tidebinder. Well, whatever. We're going to get it. Oh, no, we're not going to get a creature. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, if they have Tidebinder, then it would just counter my Vow and I'd get nothing. Anyway, I don't have a whole lot of uses for these Tidebinders, so I better hit him on things while I can still hit him on things. We can block. We're ahead. On the other hand, we're ahead. Like, we're far ahead. So do we even want to block this thing while we're ahead? Like, what resources do our opponents have? Like, even if they play Trickster or something, that's not very good. Yeah, we're low on so the deal is, in these tempo matchups, like, when you're low on resources, but your board state is large, you want to keep your board state large. So I do want, I'm not going to block. We'll take 2 damage. They just played the Mutavault, so it can't get tapped this turn. Oh, is this Sveloon? Okay, is this Sveloon? I do need an Island Walker. Or I would appreciate an Island Walker. Not an Island Walker. I can peck in for 1 damage. I can throw a lot of creatures at this stuff. If I go all out, this sadly is actually quite strong. Okay, so this is like, they block here, they take 5, they go to 9. None of this is ideal. Oh well, let's put our opponent down to a low life total. Because if the game goes too long, this is not going to be good for me either. We do have one Island Walker in play, which is not terrible. So we'll block here for sure. This thing dies. And I'll Tidebinder the Mutavault. This is not something I really want to do, but it prevents my opponent from, like, going too crazy with the Pilgrimage. And if they attack with, like, all these creatures, that's fine. I wonder what's in hand. Okay, before anything gets drawn, I will play Tidebinder again. And I'm just going to counter anything that makes creatures. You can hit me for 6, I don't care. Killing off this Lord, maybe, let's say they have 2 Hex Catchers, what happens? You can, like, block here, take 5, go to 4. Although if I block the Lord with Tidebinder, then the downside is that Mutavault gets unlocked. That's not good either. Take 6, go to 12. What do I have here? I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have lethal. So you do need to play tricksters and stuff. It's tough. It's tough. Like, killing off this Mass of the Pearl Trident would slow their clock down by a ton. The only way I can get punished is if I, like, block here and 2 Hex Catchers get thrown out. That's the only hard punishment. And what if that happens? Then there's 2 Hex Catchers and I get hit for 6. Then I swing back with a bunch of baloney for 1, 2. Well, then I die on the following turn, right? I mean, they're dead to, like, any Lord I top deck. So they probably don't have Trickster. They might have Harbinger. I don't remember what his main deck is. Every Merfolk player plays a little differently. I'm just in a situation where I'm running out of resources here. I definitely can't just block. How can you follow up the turn? Okay, I'm not thrilled about this, but I will block here. 2 Hex Catchers. Because that's the only thing that will do it. Yeah, another Sveloon. Okay, that's a definitely a range of possibilities in their hand. And their own Dockhand, so they have their own Island Walker. Their own Tide Shaper. Alright, a bunch of creatures are coming out now. Okay, 1 Island Walk Lord, and I just win. You know, the way they have their hand, I'm surprised they attacked with the Master of the Pearl Trident. They could just attack with Sveloon, got a lot of value out of it, and then, like, played these 2 things. And I mean, I guess it killed off my 3/2, but you're dead anyway to a Lord. Not meant to be. Okay, so I attack with everything. You chump. Chump, chump. Can you kill me? You cannot kill me. Okay, so there isn't actually no point for me to play anything. I will just attack with a Dockhand, and then just hope to draw like an Island Walk Lord on the following turn. We had a nice hand, but unfortunately no Lord to back it up. Just a bunch of Grizzly Bears. Here's all the cards I am not playing. And you might think, like, what if I... It's an interesting idea, maybe, to attack into everything, because if I have a, like, Hex Catcher, it's really hard for them to block. Maybe they have to make some double block somewhere, but... they're also not really in a position to be taking much more damage. Anyway, I'm not going to take any of this damage. I need the full damage here. Which may not even work at this point. If my opponent is hanging on to a Merfolk Trickster, they're in really good shape. Okay, here's an Island Walk Lord. Does it get through? Hold on, did I not attack with my Dockhand last turn? That was stupid. Not that it's going to really punish us badly, but, like, that was a punt. Okay, the Island Walk Lord wins. Their hand was very poor. Okay, the game plan. Just play anything that is remotely interactive. Dismember is awkward but necessary, and subtlety is very good. Can't remember what I take out here. Maybe Tishana's Tidebinder. It's, like, not particularly necessary in this matchup. It's fine. What does my sideboard guide say? My sideboard guide. Merfolk. Take out the Force. Oh, yeah, Lord of Atlantis. Totally forgot about it. This is a liability in this matchup. I would have been fine top decking it right then and there, but usually it's just stuck in your hand. if I were to take a guess, my opponent had Lord of Atlantis in their hand, or a few of them, and they just had no opportunity to play it because it's just way too much of a liability now. My deck doesn't punish. To be honest, I'm not playing with Harbinger of the Tides, so my deck doesn't punish a Merfolk deck for playing Lord of Atlantis. Because the more Harbingers, Tricksters, Dismembers, Subtleties, the worse Lord of Atlantis gets. And certainly I do have a lot of interaction. I'm not going to lie. I have a lot of interaction here. But yeah, if you add in Harbinger of the Tides, you can like bounce the non-Lord of Atlantis creatures back to your opponent's hand. There's a huge tempo swing, and now their Lord of Atlantis is buffing all your stuff. Very, very, very tough to deal with. His hand's not really that good. I have to blow a blue card here. I'm on the drive, no turn one play. Lord of Atlantis is my only lord. I have no islands though, but I'll still buff their hand. Probably I can do better. Also, I can't even cast Subtlety. No, I'm gonna mulligan. This could be better. Sand's better. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this. Gonna pitch Tidebinder. And then I can do quite a bit off of 1 mana. We can play Dockhand, we can play Vial. They have their own Vial. But we need some help. Gonna need a little help. Pilgrimage is back. Let's see if it's better than last time. Okay, I draw my land. That's good. So it might be a game where I'm just going to try to curve out and win. And hope our opponent can't interact with me at all. Because they have an ideal Pilgrimage hand. This is like the nuts. You got Aether Vial, you got Mutavault, you got Pilgrimage. It doesn't get better than that. That is like the premium draw for Pilgrimage. And the only way I can punish this is by being aggressive. We do have an Island Walker, so we can blast past these stupid Pilgrimage tokens. Do they have an attacker with Vial? If not, that'll be useful. Because then they'll eat up a turn with Mutavault. Like they can make a token. Actually, they can just attack with Mutavault. It's not a big a deal. I think this game is going to play out like, I'm going to play Master of the Pearl Trident. I'm going to attack for 5. I'm going to play like Hexcatcher. I don't know about that line. One edge I have here. You're going to Trickster something? You want a Trickster? What's getting Trickstered here? You get my Dockhand? You want to get my Dockhand? You're going to get my Dockhand. Another Dismember. I could just wipe their board for 8 life. It's tempting. And then they have nothing left except this Mutavault and this Pilgrimage. Can wipe their board. Because I could Dismember the Sphaloon first. Dismember the Trickster second. I don't even need to do that. I could just wait. But probably I should do that. Okay, alternatively, we play Lord. We attack for 2. No, we do not have the initiative. We need to slow things down a little bit. Hope our opponent doesn't have a Lord. If I kill this, what can I do if you have like 1 Island Walk Lord? I take 3, you have another creature. I think I'm going to wait on this. Dismember. I just hope they don't have Hexcatcher, because that will blow me out, but I can't really do anything about that. to 3 for the second Svelune. 2 Mutavaults. Okay, I'm in a bit of trouble. Ideally, last turn we drew a land. That would have been perfect. Okay. Mutavault, about to make something. Yeah, I couldn't play around that. Okay, so that resolves. Oh, you know what I was supposed to do there? I was supposed to kill one of these things in response, then if they hex catcher, they have to sack one anyway. Now they can sack the token. Well, I don't want to take 4, so we will hit the Trickster. And the reason we're hitting the Trickster is if they want to keep activating these Mutavaults, they'll take up all their mana. Yeah, I screwed that up. Well, I don't want to concede in shame. But now they can just sack the token. It's okay, it's not looking very good for me anyway. These are 3/3s anyhow. But I would have taken like 3. So given how this hand's shaping up, I'm pretty happy I killed the Svelune. I guess I should have just killed this thing. Well, we drew our land. We're at 6. I can block. I can't take too much damage. Trying to think how to survive here. I can tap a Mutavault down after they activate it. They could try to reactivate it to get another Pilgrimage token. I would really like to play Reedry here, but I just lose. I'm pretty sure I just lose. Actually, maybe nothing works. Maybe I could have played Reedry. And then win out of nowhere. Maybe maybe that was wrong. I can take 3. Because I could block 1. Then I would have to... But I have to chump block another one. Because they can freely attack with 2, so I have to do some sort of chump blocking here. They have 3 good creatures to attack with. Strong, solid creatures. Animate, animate. So my problem is they can reactivate it anyway. So it's going to get tapped. Oh, in response, they can then activate the other Mutavault. But then I don't die this turn. Oh no, I still get hit for 6. I still get hit for 6. Because they're going to animate the other Mutavault. Which is not good. Oh, they just tap... No, they have floating mana, but they're going to activate the other Mutavault, so I'm still in trouble in that regard. Because I have to chump block with my Master of the Pearl Trident, and there's just nothing I could do about it. Alright. You know what? One line I didn't think about was chump block with Hexcatcher. Oh no, but then if I chump block with Hexcatcher on this, they still die. Anyway, everything I do is going to lose here. I would love that that is going to do something, but I was on the back foot this entire game. This is not going to do anything for me. doing anything from here. Just pointless. I'm dead. I'm gonna die. Okay. Okay, same thing. Let's just hope that we have a decent hand. Mind you, I got lucky to draw my second land. That might not have ever happened. But I was still no Vile hand versus a Vile hand. The Vile played a much larger part of the game than Pilgrimage. Pilgrimage was not really that relevant in that game. If Pilgrimage was just another random creature, I was still in a lot of trouble. Like, I was down to 3 life regardless of that Pilgrimage or not. Although I should have played my Dismember before the Hexcatcher came out. Or I guess I should just played my Dismember when my opponent was completely tapped out. We won the die roll. Hand is not playable. I mean, it's close, but I don't like keeping one-land hands on the play, because I can go like Subtlety, Pitch, Trickster, and going like turn 1 Tideshaper, turn 2 Tideshaper, maybe Dismember something. Lord could become something, but it's just too risky. His hand's not really good either. But we do have our namesake card and a few Island Walkers, so I will keep it, I guess. I'll dump 1 island. But this is not really... I'm not fist pumping this hand. If I can get 1 more Lord, I could be convinced. And they have Vile, which is usually good in the matchup, usually. That can help a little bit. I was thinking maybe the Vile on 1 is not going to be very valuable, but if I I don't have much to do with my dock hand right now. Maybe we play this dock hand. Then we'll do something on another turn. Because I think this 1 damage, or even 2 damage I get off the dock hand is not worth a whole lot. Versus a turn that they're not going to be allowed to be putting in a 2-drop into play. Okay, that's not good news. That means they have another 1-drop. Keep getting Ottawaras. Okay, I have to start putting some pressure on the opponent, so I will. But I am pretty far behind here. And I am going to put a what is this going to be? Can't be anything useful. It's just another Tideshaper. But I have Island Walk. Well, now I'm pretty disincentivized to play this island. I was going to play this island, but now the damn Tideshaper is in play. Because I would like to hardcast this Subtlety if I'm allowed to. I'd also like to get up to enough mana to play this Ottawara. Play island, you play lord, you attack for 6. I draw land. Another thing is, though, it really hinges on if I draw another land. If I draw another land, you attack for 6, you play another lord. Ugh. Otherwise, this Ottawara is dead in my hand. Look at this. The 1 in 50, I don't know how often this happens. It doesn't happen very often. I'm rarely in a situation where I'm put to the test with my Ottawaras. Just a little bit put to a test here because of this is a Merfolk matchup. How much time do I have? I have 7 minutes. That's a lot of time. Okay, I'm going to say no. And if I draw another random blue card, maybe I'll just pitch this Subtlety to save myself some time. It's a tough spot, though. It's a tough spot. If I draw Reedry, I can still play it off of this Ottawa, and I probably will. Okay, so they have Hexcatcher, at the very least. So it won't block. Or it's a great bluff. Okay, get a Tidebinder. Which maybe now I want to play my island, which would really suck. Attack for 4, go to 12, have another thing, get Ether Vial offline. Okay, maybe that's the way to do it. And then, like, on some following turn, I can just tap 3 mana, then get Subtlety and play or some crap like that. Yeah, and I have lethal anyway. You have your own Tidebinder. Sure. That's so weird. Shouldn't you just activate this thing? And then if I play Tidebinder... Okay, if you play Double Lord, am I dead? Or do you have like a million Tidebinders and I'm just getting baited here? I think it's best I try to interact with this right now. Because I have nothing else to interact with. Oh, they bluffed the Hexcatcher. That's the only thing that could make sense. So they attacked with their Tidebinders into my Master of the Pearl Trident. It's the only thing that makes sense. Okay, they have a dock hand, so they have some Island Walk. Attack for 3. Okay, so let's say I take 3. I go to 15. Let's say they do have Hexcatcher. They play 2 Lords. Can I die next turn? That would be... might be enough. Who needs the damage more? I might need it more than them. Like, I might. Unless I draw a blue creature, which in that case I can, like, Subtlety something. I'm attacking for 7. Otherwise, I'm attacking for 4. That's 3 turns. I think I'm going to take the 3 damage. I hope to draw a land or a blue card for my Subtlety. That was like the worst. I want to say that was like the worst draw. That's not what I wanted. Whatever. Hopefully there's not a Dismember in my future. Okay, there's no Dismember in my future. Ugh, this is so ugly. Okay, I have to keep the Subtleties though. The Subtlety like a Lord of Atlantis that they play. Would Lord of Atlantis win? Castle Vantress? That's really clunky in this meta. That's very clunky. You know, when they had Tishana's Tidebinder, I think what they most certainly should have done was activate Ether Vial to bait me to play a Tishana's Tidebinder. And then if I don't have it, then I don't have it. Whatever. Or I guess the problem is if I don't have it, then it'll prove that they have no 2-drop. What if this is Double Lord? Does that matter? No, I've got Subtlety. Yeah, you can have the entire kit and caboodle. That's fine. Oh, they didn't Dismember. They probably just drew Dismember or something. All right, we won. Tough match. Match, honestly, is very random. Could go either way. And they had the Lord of Atlantis. The 8th and the final round. All right, we won the die roll. Yeah, I got a hand to keep. We're going to keep it. Start off with Dock Hand, turn 2 Tideshaper. I have no idea what my opponent's on. I want to say they're on Scam. Probably look them up before I started recording. They're a huge grinder, I know that much. Massive grind. Oh yeah, they're on scam. This is not the first, second, third, fourth, fifth time I've played against this particular player. Aryan Soul, come to scam me. You want to come? You scam me. Scam away. At least they mulliganed once. Oh, no scam. Not today, at least. Okay. This might work out for us. Let's take them off some red mana. Make it a little bit harder. To attack with this dock hand, I guess we attack. I think they're... Like, if they play red spell, kill Tide Shaper, like, if they ping me for one, I don't think that's a big deal. And if they somehow turn it into a 3/3, then having this thing on tap doesn't change anything either. Preordain. Murktide to the bin. So some reasons I want to play Tide Shaper on turn 2. These are our better cards. I would rather wait on them so that they can't easily pick them off with their like Unholy Heats, Lightning Bolts, and also there is some chance that this is their only red source. So hitting it would be good. It would like sort of, at least even if they found another red source, they will use it on the Tide Shaper instead of redirecting it to these creatures. This is just very strange. We'll attack. What does this mean? So if I attack and you block, do you intend on growing this? I'm a little stuck on mana, which sucks. Okay, nothing's happening. Okay, just pass. I won't play Hexcatcher. So the idea is if they tried to bolt this thing, that would play Hexcatcher and sack the dock hand instead. They can take 3 damage and then pass. If they don't want to use their mana, that's fine with me. Maybe they're planning on what's called using, because they're going to go for the Unholy Heat. We'll let them surveil first, and then we'll play Hexcatcher, sack our dock hand. Keep them locked down on red mana. It's just making things a little bit awkward from, like, it's not the end of the world or anything. Like, very easily, one Unholy Heat can kill this damn thing. A Lightning Bolt can kill it. But, like, this is becoming like a Lightning Rod for the removal, and then they'll have less removal for, you know, the good stuff. I do sort of hope to draw an island so I can play, like, Tide Shaper and Lord on the same turn. Or Tide Shaper and have Trickster up on the same turn. So what are they missing here? They got Creature, Sorcery, and Instant, but they have nothing else? Ragavani! Going to attacky tacky. Oh, they don't want to attack the Chandler. Okay. Can't really do anything with the treasure. I can still sack Tide Shaper if I need to. Well, honestly, that's not something I want to do, but... What do you get? You got my Cavernous Souls. Ah, that sucks. So in exchange for, like, getting a mana here, they lose a mana. Because they have to, like, put this thing back into their hand. Unholy Heat on my Hexcatcher. Probably the Hexcatcher is worth more to me than this Tide Shaper at this point. Because a lord is a lord. A lord is a lord is a lord. So you got your 2 red mana up again. It's really not that big of a deal. Land? Land would be nice. Just to play a random Tide Shaper. Not a land. So what am I gonna do? Okay, so you probably have counter spells in hand. Maybe we'll play Lord of Atlantis. And if that's the Lord you kill, then that is the Lord that is not gonna do me in. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I should have just passed. And just use these tricksters to like lock down, like, say, Ragavan if they try to play it again. I mean, maybe that's what I'll do if they play, like, but the problem is if they go like Bolt, Ragavan, like, I don't really like being in that position. Yeah, I think it was wrong to play my Lord here. I should just keep adding to the board with Trickster. This is completely, like, I got in 2 damage. It's not bad. This will be a good line if they have no more removal left, but they have an active Dragon Rage Chandler. That is not good for me. By the way, what did they do with their last one? I think they dumped a Subtlety? Unholy Heat. Yeah, Dragon Rage, they play Unholy Heat, so they put this in the graveyard. They didn't keep anything on top, so they could have a random card. They've played 2 removal spells. These decks have about 7 in the main, generally speaking. Was Expressive Iteration? Okay, what do they do here? I'm probably going to counter this with Hexcatcher, to be honest. I think giving them 2 cards here is a little too much. Put a land in the graveyard. They have a land drop yet to be played for the turn. What I don't like is it's 2 cards. But one of them has to be a land anyway. Because if it's not a land, then they're screwed. Unless they have a land in their hand. They could have a land. What turn is it? It's turn 4? So they're actually siphoned on lands, I think. They missed a land on turn 2. But they might have drawn a land this turn. Because if they have a land in hand and they draw 2 spells, I can still protect the Lord if they have nothing. Okay, I'm going to let it resolve. I'm going to let it resolve. If they find a removal spell, well, then they found a removal spell. But it's equal to, like, sacking this damn thing. A Ragavan enters the exiled zone. That's actually excellent. Extra excellent. Oh, wow, that was a real brick then. That was a real brick. Land! An island, specifically. Not island. Attack, then. Unless this is subtlety. No, no subtlety. Okay, so now we are extra protected. Attack for 7. What did they find? What did they put into their hand? Okay, so this has played out quite well. Fiery Islet is terrible for them, because that's just going to be extra damage. Already like a precarious life total. Dragon Rage Chandler has to attack. Can't survive Unholy Heat. Put a bauble into the graveyard. Lord dies. How many more removal spells do you have? Okay, looks like Murktide. For a big chunk. How big can a Murktide get? 5. I guess it can become an 8/8. So maybe there's still a world where I lose. Or I think they might be trying to sculpt the situations that they can block with their Dragon Rage Challenge so they don't have to attack with it. Let's see what they do. So the only thing that's going to save them from here is probably Subtlety. And then even then, I'm going to attack them for at least 2. I mean, they're in a lot of trouble here. They're going to have to use a lot of resources. I don't know if they have so many. Like, I think some versions do have Subtlety in the main. Okay, did they turn off the DRC? They did not. So So they do have to attack, which means my Trickster is also lethal. They have only 11 damage next turn. 11, I go to 4. You'd need double Lightning Bolt. Okay. Still don't get a land. What do I prefer? How do I prefer to win here? Probably... maybe Trickster. And then if this is Subtlety, then I just put it on the bottom, because I don't really want to put a Lord on the bottom. Okay, so we win game 1. Always nice to win the first game versus Murktide. Always nice to win the first game. Bringing in... I don't really love Subtlety in this matchup, but the problem is if you bring in Chalice on 1 for the 1-drop plan, I just have too many 1-drops. Maybe that's a design failure on my part. Maybe I should have 2 Dismembers in the main over 2 Dock Hands. Then I would like free up 2 sideboard slots for me. Maybe to put like Harbinger in. And Harbinger would really work well with the Chalice of the Void. I'm starting to think, like, I have 4 Subtleties in this deck specifically for Amulet. And maybe I should just like hurt my win rate in that matchup by just playing less Subtlety so I can play more Harbingers. Harbinger seems like it's just way more important in like overall matchups, like whether it be like maybe, you know, Murktide, Scam, the Mirror, Burn, Hardened Scales, a lot of stuff. Okay, I have to take out stuff. We're gonna take out Force Negation. Don't want to 2 for 1 myself that way. The rest is fine. Tishana's Tiebinder is like a little awkward, but it has some abilities. You know, you can sometimes turn off a Dragon Rage Channeler, and frankly, I would like it like that. I don't know if people still play with Dress Down, but you can interact with that too. Boy, do I hate Dress Down. I still don't know which one's better to have post-board. Tide Shaper, which can attack for more damage, or Dockhand, which is just straight up unblockable. Yeah, don't know. What's also nice is we won that game without Vile. Without Cavernous Souls. I don't even know what was in their hand. I guess a bunch of counter spells. I bet maybe a bunch of counter spells, but they could not afford to just keep passing the turn, because like I could see a world where they have a handful of counter spells, but if we're passing the turn, they like just wasted their turn completely, and then we just play on their turn, and they're not developing their board. Yeah. So they decided to give Ragavan dash, at least add to the board, get in a bit of damage, sacking the treasure and playing on Holy Heat and stuff like that. By the way, we're not really playing for top. I don't think we're playing for top 8. I looked at the top 8. Everyone is 6-1 or better. So if any of the 6-1s lose, they'll be 6-2. I am playing for 6-2, but my breakers should just be worse. But we are playing definitely for top 16. A little bit of glory in top 16. This hand is very good. I mean, unless we just get wiped away by a million removal spells. But outside of that, this hand is very good. We've got Cavernous Souls. We have Tide Shaper. We have a Curve. We have a bunch of Island Walk Lords. So, I mean, you can lose to getting completely tempoed out, but if they have a counter-heavy hand, this will just mop them up. Mop them up! Sure. Could use that last turn. Merfolk. So if they go like turn 2 Ledger Shredder, I will, without hesitation, Subtlety the damn thing. It does remove their, like, a card. Like, it's like you kill the card in play and you kill their draw, if I understand correctly. Okay, it did. It did. Ooh, Tide Shaper. Not thrilled to see that at all. They might actually try to play with Kicker to turn off our counter magic. Oh my god. This would be a sick play. Do I subtlety my own Tide Shaper to put it on top of my deck so I could redirect it to their Steam vents? You know what? I think I will. I like the sound of that play. I like the sound of that play. And keep our Cavernous Souls alive. I'll take this. Thank you very much. Oh, but it doesn't do much. Whatever. It will basically block Ragavan, right? Do I want it on the bottom? I guess we put it on top. Because all it'll do is block Ragavan for this one turn. Which is not particularly impressive. Storm count 5? Okay, they don't know. They don't crack the bauble because they know what's on top of our library. And now that we have Tide Shaper, who knows what's on top of our library? The problem is, like, if they freely attack with Ragavan and I don't block, then they'll get red source anyway. So it doesn't change much. Okay, so they're cycling through a bunch of cards. Well, I don't know if all that was worth it, but probably it wasn't. Was that worth it? Well, I got my I do have my Cavernous Souls, which might be worth it. I mean, it depends on what's in their hand. It really depends on what's in their hand. Okay, Expressive Iteration should be... If they have a land in hand, this is probably good for us. Or sorry, if it's a land in hand, that's bad for us. They got a Spire Bluff Canal. Okay, that's fine. I think at this point, like, it doesn't matter what mana they have. Okay, Dragon Rage Chandler is evil. But that was the rest. That was exactly what we needed for this thing. What are the odds that they have removal? Okay, so I have the option of just throw Lord out versus play Trickster. Okay, I'm just going to try to kill the Dragon Rage Chandler. I hope they don't have Counterspell. Or I have to hope that they don't have removal. Or Tishana's Tidebinder or some crap like that. Okay, Ragavan Dash is fine with me. Honestly, Ragavan is not the most dangerous creature in the world, especially since it's legendary. So if there's multiples on the battlefield, like maybe killing this Ragavan wasn't even the best thing we could do. But Dragon Rage Chandler is just deadly as hell. Okay, they have no removal. Or if they do, I don't know why they're lightning bolting now. They could have done that pre-attack. Or sorry, pre-resolution of this thing. And get a trigger. They get no trigger now. Either way, they're pretty far ahead. Ooh, could use that Mutavault. Could use that Mutavault. I can still use that. That's fine. So the only way I can win from here, I wouldn't say this is the only way, but I have to really, really, really hope my opponent has no more removal. And they don't have any way to find more removal. If they're a hand of the, if their hand is like, I don't know, a bunch of counter spells and the stupid Dragon Rage Channel and Ragavan, maybe we have a chance. I'm not blocking this thing now. I really need to get Lords on the battlefield and beat face. Just ignore the stupid monkey. The monkey is completely irrelevant to me. Hopefully they find Lord of Atlantis. Well, that sucks. They can actually play this without paying life because they have 2 treasures for the black mana. See, I needed that. I needed that off the top of my deck. You stole that from me. That would have been a bomb top deck. Dismember Dragon Rage Chandler. It might not have worked. They have a lot of mana and they're not doing anything, so I'm assuming they have like a bunch of counter spells in hand that are completely useless. Oh! We got this anyway! Ugh, I don't want to play this stupid Lord of Atlantis. But I guess I should. The problem is whatever creature they find off of whatever creature that they find off of Ragavan is going to be deadly. Just incredibly deadly. But on the other hand, I sort of want to incentivize them to kill this lord over this lord. Okay. I need you to rip lands or ether vials or something, Ragavan. Ether vials or lands or even subtlety. I'll take subtlety. Subtlety 2 is good. You found Hexcatcher. That is deadly. That'll kill me. That is a problem. That's a big problem. Do I still have a chance here? So that will attack for 2. I can block Ragavan next turn with my... They're doing pretty good without having that much removal. Yeah, they're doing pretty good without having that much removal. Can attack for 3. Oh, this could work! It's so close. I can attack for 3 and that... No, I'm only attacking for 8 next turn. Oh, I thought I was attacking for 12. I'll have 12 power on the board next turn, but it's not nearly enough. So I'm waiting for a Trickster, I guess. I have to Trickster the Hexcatcher. This will just cruise by for 2 damage. I can block Ragavan. There's a lot of ways I can lose here. Yeah, that's one of the ways of losing. I was right that there's a lot of Murktide out there. Okay, we lose. Change nothing. Our hand sadly was just too clunky and not interactive enough. I should actually say they had just enough interaction, but they did have a Dragon Rage Chandler out, so makes some sense. Okay, I will submit. Let's see some Chalice of the Voids this game. Some Chalice of the Voids. Some Ether Vials and some Chalice of the Voids. We actually have no idea how far ahead they were. They had like 4 cards in their hand by the end of that game. They were in good shape. I'm trying to think back at that subtlety play when I subtletied my own Tide Shaper. Was that worth it? Should I just let it resolve and just not care? And then wait for something bigger? Hand is good enough. It's a little clunky though. But if we go Chalice turn 2, then Reejerey turn 3, then I'll feel really good about it. I would prefer it we had at least something to do on turn 1 here. Like, this Trickster was a Dismember, this was a Dismember, a Vile. Dismember, Vile, Tide Shaper. Just a little something. Just a little something to be on the board. Because we know they're going to do something on turn 1, right? Like, with almost certainty they'll do something on turn 1. Best would be if they go, like, Preordain. Well, they know nothing. Well, I have no option. They got Spell Pierce. They got Spell Pierce. We did get our land for our Reejury. I'm just hoping they don't have Spell Pierce here. Okay, they let it resolve. They might have Cast into the Fire, which if they do, then they just do. Might have Chalice on Engineered Explosives for 0. Which if I draw another Chalice, I should probably play it on 0 so I can protect this Chalice. I'll play the card that has the most upside here. Go on, if I play Mutavault, yeah, that has the most upside. Might be thinking of playing Subtlety here because they just have nothing else to do. Okay, they choose not to. Don't have Cast into the Fire, just pass. 2 mana up, that would be perfect. Oh, yes! Yes! We're in commanding position. Commanding! Okay, what is this going to be for 3 mana? I guess it could be Shredder into something. Or it's just, what's it called? Brotherhood End? Okay, that's fine. Oh! Destroy all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. Well, that sucks. Okay, some good news is we got that out of their hand. So we can go Lord, Lord. Well, their entire hand is active now. I can attack for 7. But then I lose my Lords. Attacking for 7 is not bad. They go to almost nothing. I can attack for 7 and get Vile in play. It's not a bad turn. The only thing that sucks is I'm going to lose my Lords. Alternatively, because I want to put something in play here. And Trickster will still be valuable in the going down the home stretch. Yeah, it'd be so nice. Maybe I should have played Vile first. Oh, actually, they could have played Subtlety on this Lord. It's just that if I get a huge chunk of damage in here, it's convenient. It's nice. We're a little diversified versus Engineered Explosives. Damn, that thing destroys all artifacts. I didn't know that. I know it as like a board wipe for my creatures. No, it's usually a 1-of, and I think it's a 1-of in a lot of lists. Let's see, can I see a Murktide list around here? How many Brotherhood Ends do they play? I think about 1. Okay. Ooh, that's perfect. Alright, they don't have another red source, so they can kill one creature, but they can't kill the other. So I can just hoof them for like a huge chunk of damage. If they somehow turn on the Dragon's Rage Channeler and block, then we can Trickster and kill the Channeler. They might have Unholy Heat, and they just don't have Delirium, and it'd be such a risk to shoot this thing down and not having Delirium by the time it resolves. They have got Artifact, Land, Sorcery. They just need one instant in the graveyard. They're really screwed here. Alternatively, they might be hoping to just block and then Unholy Heat afterwards, so that's also possible. I wonder what they were thinking of doing for 2 mana. Tide Shaper, huh? So I can Tide Shaper, tap down. So I could Tide Shaper, untap Cavernous Souls, Trickster, tap, hit the Dragon Rage Chandler. And then also hit, make my opponent make a move here. Let's do that. That's cute. That is very cute. Make our opponent make a move with this red source. I can even play my Trickster at the beginning of combat. Subtlety, getting rid of Stern Scolding. Sure. Sources? Deactivated. Puts a creature in the graveyard. I guess we'll put it on top. It's like a random creature. It's one of the weakest things we can draw, though. It's like undisputedly one of the crappiest things that we could draw. They now have Delirium. Maybe we'll just keep it on top. Maybe we'll keep it on bottom, keep it on top. Okay, maybe we'll just keep it on top just in case they like play some random creature like Murktide or something. So now I can Trickster, untap a land, attack with everything. If they have Tishana's Tidebinder, like, that's fine too. Actually, you know what's interesting? They could Tishana's Tidebinder their own subtlety. I didn't even think about that. I could, like, play a subtlety, then Tishana's Tidebinder my subtlety. So they do have Unholy Heat. Hitting... Oh, the Island Walk Lord. Fair. Still gonna attack you for 5. Put an Expressive Iteration in the graveyard. Game's close. But it can certainly completely spiral out of control. Now, they do have to attack with the Chandler this turn. So that's one less blocker I have to deal with. It's nice to have a Trickster in the pocket over here, just in case they do put out some sort of random blocker. Well, they do have Expressive Iteration. It's basically Treasure Cruise. Dig one card away. Look 3 cards deep. But I think we got it. I think we got it. Or it's like, it's really close. It's like really, really, really close. Because there's like nothing defending them against a bunch of Grizzly Bears. They would have to play like Red Source, 2 removal spells. I'm still attacking for 2, putting them to 3. I'm still putting like Tide Shaper in play, hitting one of the red sources, and then we'll have Trickster for a random creature that they play. Like, they would need like another Brother's Hood end or something. And even then it's tough because I still have this Mutavault over here. They need to find like maybe Murktide, and that still doesn't even do it, but they need to find like Murktide, exile everything from the graveyard so that they have the ability to block, but that still doesn't matter because we'll Trickster, Reedry will tap down Chandler, and the Trickster will tap down the Murktide. Damn, this game could have been a lot easier if this Chalice just stuck. If it just sat there. But the one benefit to this game is it slowed our opponent down by a lot. I mean, they didn't do anything for turns 1, 2, and 3. Effectively, they did nothing. Although we did nothing also for turns 1, 2, and 3. But they couldn't get outrageously ahead on the board. Oh, we did keep a Reedry. So, we did get to keep a Reedry. We played our Chalice on 2, our Reedry on 3. They played Brother's Hand on 3, so actually we only did something for 2 turns. Our opponent says, good games. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The Merfolk Master goes X2 for once. We got a nice, clean 70%, 75% win record, so maybe this, well, my opponent hasn't resigned yet. They're going to fat shock and then bolt themselves. Seppuku. Are we going to Seppuku? Dress down. Okay, cute. Cute. Very cute. Get to dig a little bit deeper. Put Preordain in the graveyard. Random card on top. Okay, so the point of this is that they don't have to attack with their Dragon Rage Chandler, but it still doesn't really work because we know I have the Merfolk on top to at least... I mean, I have 6 creatures. I just have to attack back and we win. Okay. All right. I don't know what the final score is. Maybe I'll tune you guys in. But, like, okay, finally, I had a decent event. I went X2. That's what I need. And I knew this deck had it in it. And I even beat Murktide. Sorry, even beat Yawgmoth. So we're up against 2 Murktides, 1 Yawgmoth. What did I lose to? I don't even remember what I lost to. I lost to something out there. But everyone had, like... People did not blow me away with, like, nutted hands. That was, like, the key thing. I didn't even think I had that many great hands. But the hands were fine. I didn't have to mulligan, like, to 5, like, every single match. So I'm not going to complain. Some things I might change. I might change, like, 2 dock hands for 2 dismembers. Maybe take out 2 subtleties. And maybe add, like, 1 more Chalice of the Void. And also 3 to either add a Chalice of the Void or add 4 Harbingers to make, like, sideboarding a lot easier with this deck. Especially when I'm going on that Chalice on 1 plan. And Murktide... Also, Murktide and Crushing Footfalls are so popular. I should just have probably, like, 4 Chalice here in the sideboard. And then my Amulet matchup gets a little worse. But honestly, like, I don't want to bring in Subtlety that much. I really don't. I don't know, like, maybe against Scam, it's a little bit better than I think. But I don't know. I'm not thrilled about it. Spring Season, the main deck has not helped. I don't know if it helped me or not. It's meant there for Yawgmoth. I'm not really seeing that matchup that much. Also meant for the Urza Saga decks, and also not seeing those too much. So maybe that has to be moved to the sideboard as well. I mean, maybe we're going to look at, like, putting, like, 4 Dismember in the main. It doesn't look too bad because I didn't even like Dismember versus something like Crashing Footfalls, but they're playing with Tishana's Tidebinder now, so F it. Dismember is good against almost everything. Almost everything. I mean, at least 2 is fine, because, like, even that's playable versus Amulet to hit the Dryad of the Elysian Grove. But yeah, all right. Deck is cool, and I'll fill you in on how we finished with this tournament. So I did make top 16. We came in 15th place out of 129 players. So very nice, solid finish for the Merfolk deck. Still looking out for some top 8s, and I think there's still a lot of room to tweak and adjust this deck before my regional championship. So until then, if you want to play this thing like me, I have a sideboard guide on Patreon, also in my Discord. If you are a member of Patreon or YouTube, it's the thing is in my Discord, or it's on Patreon. Check either the links to all that stuff in the description and all that other jazz. All right, take care, everyone, and happy fishing.